Hi, I'm Claire, and this is Read for Initiative, the Dungeons & Dragons inspired game that I use to pick what I read every month. If you've never seen one of these videos, the basic idea is that I am rolling dice to pick how many books I will read in the month and what those books will be, and then at the end of the month I get experience points according to how well I've done. There's a whole system with level ups and debuffs and character classes, all that good D&D stuff. So let's get started and I will explain as we go. Now I am playing as a halfling rogue, and by the end of March I had gotten myself 5,095 XP, which got me to level 6. For April, the dice decided that I should read 7 books and try to fulfill 2 reading prompts, and let me tell you, I totally crushed it. After I really struggled with reading original fiction in March, I threw myself fully into the Owls Readathon, and I finished 13 books in April. Now most of those books I read for the Owls Readathon, so I'll do a separate wrap-up video for that, otherwise we'll be here talking about those books for ages. Basically, the point of the game is for me to read all of the books, so the main way that I can score points is by reading a lot. And when I originally came up with this game, I thought I'd keep it nice and simple and give myself 1 point per page read with a level up every time I got 1,000 points, which means that now I'm jumping a bunch of level at once, because in April I read 3,643 pages. And this is where you see that when I designed this game, I did not anticipate that I would ever read over 3,500 pages in a single month. So now I shoot straight to level 9 with 8,738 XP, and we are not even done yet. We've got a bunch of bonuses to score, so let's see if we can hit level 10. First up, I've got bonus point for reading the number of books that the dice decided for me last month, and more bonus points for reading even more books than that. For the first time since I started this game, I have successfully managed to fulfill all my reading prompts, since, you know, I rolled a natural 1 and I ended up having only 2 prompts to fulfill. Also, because I'm a rogue, I get bonus points when I read books under 250 pages. I totally made this rule up because I love reading novellas, and last month I read 6 novellas, so that is my level up. We are level 10. And next up, I've got my side quests. They are vanquishing my TBR and buffing my NetGalley ratio. I am trying to reduce the number of unread books that I own, so that is vanquish my TBR. I get points if I read more books from my unread shelf than I bring new books into the house. This month I finished 7 books off my TBR shelf, which is amazing. I'm super happy about that. But I also did buy myself a bunch of shiny new books this month because morale, you know, and you've got to support independent bookstores and independent book businesses if you can. So that's 7 books read of the TBR shelf and 5 new books purchased, so that kind of works for me. And finally, I am looking to improve my NetGalley ratio, so I'm going to win some points if I manage to review more books from NetGalley than I add to my review queue. Now, I didn't request anything new from NetGalley this month. I think I was so busy with the Owls, I didn't even go on NetGalley except to review books at the end of the month. 3 of them, which is a nice handful more points. So that is scoring done for April, and I'm starting May on level 10, which is amazing. I've come pretty far already. I could crack 10,000 XP in May if I keep doing well, so that's pretty cool. But now it is time for dice rolling. I'm going to change the setup here so that you can see me roll my shiny purple dice. And we're back to decide what I will be reading in May. But before we start figuring out all the new books, I should point out I'm still reading 3 different books at the moment. I started the collection Hungry Hearts, 13 Tales of Food and Love for the Owls and didn't manage to finish it. It was the only owl I didn't get. I'm very much enjoying it. It's just that I ran out of time because I read 13 books in April. So I will be finishing that. I'm enjoying it very much. I will also be finishing Gods of Jade and Shadow and the Priory of the Orange Tree, which I am reading for the BookTube SFF Awards. I started Priory in April. I started Gods of Jade and Shadow in March. I only have a physical copy of this because the audiobook's not out in the UK. So I have it next to my bed and I read it every so often, and I really enjoy it when I do. But I think I really just need to dedicate like a whole half day or a whole day to just finish this book, because I really enjoy it, but it just doesn't, you know, I don't get very far when I just read it before bed. Now, I did finish a couple of BookTube SFF Forward books in April, and I think I've only got these two left on the docket, Recursion by Blake Crouch and The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I've got audiobooks of both of these, so I'm not worried about being able to finish them in the month of May. If you haven't seen, we've also extended the reading period for the BookTube SFF Awards, which is why I've not been too worried about reading those, and which is why I decided to go wild and try to complete 12 Owls instead of focusing on the BookTube SFF Award books. But I do need to now integrate those in my TBR for May, and I also would love to be able to include some new releases because there's a lot of really exciting books that I want to read. I've got a bunch of exciting arcs I'd love to read as well. There's the shortlist for the Hugos. There is basically so many things that I would love to read. So I'm kind of looking forward to giving myself a fairly challenging TBR this month, just because I did so well in April and I feel like I'm on a roll. And also if I give myself a big long list, you know, I'm hoping that even if I don't finish everything, I will at least have read quite a few things. And, you know, I literally just earned 4,000 XP in a go this month, so, you know, I can afford to lose a few points if I don't meet all of my goals. So this is just to say, if I roll a natural 1 for prompts again, I will be re-rolling it, because I'm playing as a halfling rogue, and my perk as a halfling is that I get a single dice re-roll every turn of the game. I don't use it every single month, mostly because sometimes I forget I have it, but if the game is trying to be too nice to me and give me too few things to do, I might try to kick it up a notch and see how we go. So first up, we're going to roll a constitution check. I'm rolling this with a d12. I'm aware that's not how it actually works in the game, because since going into lockdown, I have started actually playing D&D over Skype with some friends, when before that I had not played D&D since university. So when I designed the game, my memory of actual D&D was a little foggy, but this works better for the balance of my game, so I'm going with it. My base constitution is that I'm able to read 5 books in a month. Obviously, if I roll really high, I have to read way more books than that, and if I roll really low, I have to read fewer books than that. So let's get started with our very first roll. And we've got a 10, which, look, I brought it on myself. So a roll of 10 or 11 means that I have to read 2 books over my base of 5. 7 books in a month. I don't think this is going to be too bad. Like I said, I've got so many things that I want to read, that I should be reading for various things. In any case, it is now time to roll for initiative and see how many reading prompts I'm going to try and fulfill this month. So for this, I've also got a base of 5. Rolling this with a d20, so we'll see what we get. Let's roll for initiative. That went completely out of frame. I'm going to just pull it like that, and you can see it is a 17. So a roll of 17 is plus 5 prompts on my base of 5, which means we're about to roll 10 times for 10 different reading prompts. Let's do this. In front of me, I've got 3 random encounter tables that I've filled with reading prompts. I'm going to be rolling a d6 to decide which of the 3 tables I'm looking into, and then I'm going to roll 2 d10s, a regular d10 and a percentile dice, to give me a number between 1 and 100, 1 and 99, I guess, and then I am going to pick a reading prompt based on that. I've not used my special halfling reroll ability yet, so I may yet decide to re-roll one of these dice if I don't like the prompt that I'm given. However, I can re-roll only 1 out of the 3, so I'll have to figure out what probability I have to get a different prompt. Each of these prompts is for like 3 or 4 numbers out of 100, because I couldn't come up with 300 reading prompts. However, we do have a new one on the board, so shout out to my friend Adri Joy, who's one of the co-editors at Nerds of a Feather, for suggesting that on a roll of 97, 98, 99 or 100, I don't think I can actually roll 100, but on those rolls I need to pick a second book for an existing prompt on all 3 tables. So I thought that would be a kind of fun addition to put in to like up the difficulty a bit if I roll really high. And by I thought, I mean Adri thought, because it was definitely her suggestion. So let's do our first roll, and let's hope that I'm actually managing to roll into the small area that my phone camera can actually capture. Let's see if I manage it. No, I don't. So we are going in the first table. We are looking for 66, and that is to read a review copy, which is great because, like I said, I have a number of them. And for this, I'm going to go with a review copy I've been so excited to read. I meant to read it during the Owls and then had to swap it out for something else because it is a big book. It is The Court of Miracles by Castor. I got this review copy sent to me from Harper Voyager in like January, I think, specifically because it is set in France historical Paris. It is a Les Mis retelling and I love me some Les Mis. It doesn't actually come out until June, so now we are reaching the point in time where I actually need to be reading it now so that I can have fresh thoughts about it when it comes out. So I'm super excited to get to this. I think what I'm gonna do is designate a weekend in May, maybe a long weekend that is specifically for hunkering down and reading my physical books, and then maybe I can even do like a little reading vlog or something like that. For our second reading prompt this month, we've got prompt number 7. Yes, that's how percentile dice works. We've got prompt number 7 in the third table, and that is a wildcard audiobook, which I always appreciate because, like I mentioned a million times, I love an audiobook. There's so many audiobooks I want to be listening to at the moment. The final book in the Interdependency trilogy by John Scalzi just came out, The Last Emperor. I'm really excited to figure out what's going on in that one, so that's one option. I've also got a whole bunch of awards books as audiobooks that I need to be reading, so that might be one as well, depending on my mood. But again, this is a specific mood read prompt, so I'm not going to be picking anything specific now. For role number 3, we have in the first table, prompt 16. So at number 16, we have read a most anticipated book. So that means picking a book from my most anticipated upcoming book releases videos that I try and do every quarter. I've done one for April, May, and June 2020. So there'll be books that have just come out, books that are coming out this month or next month that I might have an arc of. So I'm going to look through this video. I put a list of the books down in the description so I can see them very easily right now, and The Last Emperor by John Scalzi is one of them. So if I do read that for my wildcard audio, it counts for this as well. However, there are so many more exciting books like, say, Network Effect by Martha Wells, of which I have an arc on NetGalley, but I haven't started it yet and I cannot wait. That is the brand new Murderbot novel. I'm so excited for it. I've also got a NetGalley arc of Zencho's new novella that comes out in June, The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water. That being a novella and shorter would be good if I'm kind of running out of time for this prompt. However, the book that I'm definitely picking for this prompt, because I've been so excited to dig into it ever since I received a copy from the lovely Portal Bookshop here in the UK, is Bonds of Brass by Emily Skrutsky. Lee at the Portal Bookshop was an absolute star, like they usually are, and they got me a copy of this, which didn't actually come out in the UK, so they had to order it for me from the US, and I'm so excited to read this. This is book 1 in the Bloodright trilogy, and it is about pilot in a rebellion who is maybe in love with their best friend, but it turns out their best friend maybe comes from the dark side all along and was the heir to a bad empire of some description. It gives off a very strong Finn and Poe vibes, and I love me some Storm Pilot. Plus the cover is absolutely gorgeous, so I can't wait to dig into this one. Oh my god, we're only at roll number 4 and this TBR is already looking amazing! Let's see, we have number 36 in the third table, and that is read a YA contemporary book. That's really interesting. I don't know that I have YA contemporary on my shelves, really. Let's see. I've got my TBR shelf right here next to me, and I don't know that I have that. This is adult, this is science fiction, this is young adult science fiction, this is historical fantasy. Nope. I always try to look on my TBR shelf first because I would like to read the books that are currently on my TBR shelf. However, I had to go to Goodreads for this one because I don't actually own YA contemporary that I haven't read yet. But what I did find was a book that was on a previous most anticipated releases, but I haven't read yet, and that is Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith. This is a YA contemporary romance where the main character, Divya, is a popular gaming streamer. So that is something I'm super interested in because, you know, I work for a YouTube gaming channel full time. Obviously, I also have this channel. Like, I'm very invested in all this online goodness and, you know, online badness, given the title Don't Read the Comments. That is something I'm always interested in seeing represented in books. And crucially, the audiobook is available on SCRIBD, so I don't have to actually figure out how to get a copy delivered to my house. Okay, it's time for roll number 5, and I think I need to start doubling up on prompts because I've already got like 3 different full-length novels, and for the wildcard audio, I think it doesn't make sense to double up this one in particular because if it's already on my list of prompts, then it can't really be a wild choice. So I am going to be trying to think about how to incorporate shorter things, novellas, comics that I've got on my TBR, as well as doubling up. But now time for roll number 5, and we are going for prompt number 21. In the first table, that's just different from the previous prompt that we had to read the most anticipated books. We now have to read a fantasy book. This is like the opposite of the thing I had with YA Contemporary. I have so much fantasy, I'm very excited to be picking a fantasy for this. But before I get too excited about adding one of the many fantasy novels that I would love to read from my TBR shelf, I'm going to actually give this one to The Starless by Erin Morgenstern because I need to read this for the BookTube SFF Awards. This I am officially finally putting on the TBR. Let's see how I enjoy it. So much for putting shorter books on the TBR now, eh? Roll number 6. That is in the second table. We've rolled an 86, and at 86 we have read an issue of a magazine. Whew! How long has it been since I've read an issue of a magazine? I mean, I know I'm subscribed to some magazines, but I don't know what I've got at all. I think I'm currently subscribed to Fire magazine, so I'm gonna check my email. Okay, yes, I was right. I definitely have a current subscription to Fire, which is the Hugo Award nominated magazine for Black speculative fiction. So issue 14 is the latest issue that I've got from them for spring 2020. It looks great. The cover's beautiful. It's got a lot of authors that I don't know anything about that are listed on the cover. So I'm looking forward to discovering new authors. That is going to be my magazine reading for May. Hopefully that'll remind me that I actually enjoy short stories, and maybe I'll read more of my magazine subscriptions in future. This is kind of why I wanted to make sure that read an issue of a magazine was one of the prompts, even though I find it a little bit scary. Right, after a very brief for you, but not very brief at all for me, interlude of fixing up my phone camera, which ran out of space, let's do roll number 7. And we have got in the first table prompt 33. So 33 in the first table, read a book with yellow on the cover. Of course, none of the things that I've picked so far really have yellow on the cover, so I'm gonna go and dive into my TBR shelf. And for this one, I am going to very unsurprisingly pick The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. The title is yellow. It's quite a bit of yellow on the spine. This is N.K. Jemisin's newest book. It is urban fantasy set in New York. Super excited to read it. I was hoping to get to it last month, but then I didn't because The Owls and 13 other books. But now, hopefully, I'll get to this one. It's another full-length novel that I'm adding to this pile of many novels. So, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Number 8. We have got in the second table number 26. Number 26 in the second table is read a book with red on the cover. So another cover color, and also another one that I don't think I can fulfill from the ones that I've picked already. So this is going to be interesting. Although I did say that I wanted to read The Last Emperor by John Scalzi. I think that has a red cover, or at least the UK cover of it is red, and that counts because obviously I'm in the UK. But let's see on Goodreads what I can find. At this point, I really would not mind adding something shorter to the list. All right, well, I checked my Goodreads wants to read list and I ordered it by shortest to highest number of pages. One of the very first things showing up is The Last Emperor by John Scalzi. I don't think that's because it's the shortest. I think maybe the number of pages isn't input properly into Goodreads, because that's definitely novel length and I have shorter things on there, including shorter things that have read on them, but I think I might have to take it as a little bit of a sign that Goodreads wants me to get on with the one that I said first. And I'm really, really excited about this book, so hopefully that works out for me. All right, we've only got 2 more rolls and we definitely need to be either doubling up or picking shorter things if we want to have any hope of actually doing this. I know I said that earlier and didn't do it, but now let's try and actually do it. Roll number 9 is in the second table, number 86. Number 86 in the second table. Let me find that. Oh, that's Read a Magazine issue. I'm going to re-roll that because it is a prompt I'm already doing this month. And I think the best chance to get a different prompt is going to be re-rolling the percentile dice so that I get a different number in the dozens. So let's see. Again, the rules for this is if I get the same number, if I get 80 again, I definitely have to read 2 magazine issues. You make sure the dice is out of the way, and now let's see what my reroll is. And of course, my camera shut off at the most inconvenient time. I was talking about rerolling for this prompt. I have rerolled the percentile die, and it fell on 30, as you can see from the clip from my phone camera. So the new prompt is number 36 in the second table, and that is read a book between 300 and 400 pages. And this one hopefully is going to be able to be a double up. I can't imagine that none of the books that I've picked so far are in that length. So let's have a little look-see. Now, The City We Became and the Starless Sea are definitely over 400 pages, so they won't go for that. Bonds of Brass, let's see. This one is just over 300 pages. The actual story finishes on page 302, so this one works. Then The Court of Miracles also is between 300 and 400 pages, so either of these two could count for that prompt, which is a relief. And finally, for our last roll, we've got, in the second table again, we've got number 78, and that is Read a Book picked by Patreon. This didn't go very well last time that I did it, because Patreon picked for me Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Murano Garcia, which I am loving, but also literally I'm taking 3 months to read. Because it's a physical copy and I'm so unused to reading physical, like, novel-length books anymore, and I read so slowly. So I think when I give them, like, a choice, I'm gonna make sure that I've got the audiobook available for that choice, because otherwise, you know, we're gonna struggle. Okay, so I had to think about this one for a little while because, of course, for Patreon pick, I do want to pick like 3 or 4 books to put to a vote on Patreon, and I do want to not double up. The whole point of Patreon pick is to influence what I read. If I've already decided that I'm gonna read a thing this specific month, or if I have to read it this specific month, like Recursion, I don't think that's fair to put in a Patreon poll. Things that I know I'm going to read pretty soon because I'm excited about them or because they are up for the Hugo, I think those are fair game. So I think I'm going to go with Network Effect by Martha Wells, the Murderbot novel that is coming out very soon. I do have an arc. I also believe there will be an audiobook. Option number 2 will be The Deep by Rivers Solomon with David Diggs, William Hudson and Jonathan Snipes. This is a finalist for the Best Novella Hugo, so I definitely want to read it for that. I was hoping to get the audiobook version because that is read by David Diggs, but that doesn't look like it's available in the UK, so I got a hard copy from the lovely folks at the Portal Bookshop. And I think for the other two options, I'll put up The Light Brigade by Cameron Hurley and Middle Game by Seanan McGuire, because those are both Hugo finalists for Best Novel. So that will be a poll with 4 different options for like fairly popular big books that are, you know, award finalists and or very, very well anticipated. So I think that'll be a fun vote with stuff that people like know about and have heard of. And that way people have options of, you know, something a little bit shorter like The Deep, something a little bit longer like Middle Game. But then again, I tend to really enjoy Seanan McGuire's writing, so, you know, if Middle Game comes up, I won't be like mad about it. So that's a pretty full-on reading month I've got ahead of me, especially since I'm filming this on the 4th of May, so I've already lost a bunch of days to waiting for the weekend, which is the right time for me to record this very intensive video. Usually it goes faster than this, but I've had some technical difficulties today, so I've been recording this for like over 2 hours now, and I'm very, very hungry. So before I go get myself some lunch, let's do a quick recap. This month I have to try and read 7 books and fulfill 10 different reading prompts, and I was not able to double up on very many of those reading prompts. In fact, the one that I could double up on also works for Recursion by Blake Crouch, which I couldn't fit anywhere else in this TBR, and I need to read, so I'm going to count that for the prompt to read a book between 300 and 400 pages, and that means that I have to read all of these books, plus The Last Emperor by John Scalzi, plus Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith, plus the 14th issue of Fire Magazine, plus a wildcard audiobook for which I'm definitely going to pick a novella so that I can catch at least a single break this month, plus a book picked by my patrons, which could be on the shorter side or on the longer side. We will see once they have voted. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm fairly sure I'm not going to finish all of these books, but the point is that I'm going to be reading a bunch of them and hopefully enjoying them very much. And, you know, if I lose points next month for not completing some of the challenges, it's fine, because I literally leapt up like 3-4 levels in April for finishing most of my owls. So this was a very exciting reading month. I'm looking forward to an even more exciting reading month, and let's see how it goes. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon indeed. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.